What you're about to hear goes beyond simple advice. It's a shift, a profound transformation in the way you think, act, speak, and walk through life. It's a shift in how you view your circumstances, and more importantly, in how you seize control of your future. Let me share something with you that most people don't understand until it's too late. Your life is shaped by your assumptions. The way you expect things to unfold is how they generally do. This is not the work of fate, but the result of focus. Your dominant thoughts pull circumstances into alignment with them. They shape how you act, what you say, and whether you keep pushing forward or retreat. Now ask yourself this: what if you assumed right now that everything is working out for you even when things seem hard? What if you lived as if the outcome was already certain, even when it feels like there's no visible proof, even in the silence or the difficulty? What if you acted as though the door to success was already open, and all you had to do was walk through it? This isn't wishful thinking. This is mental engineering. It's how the greatest minds in history overcame failure, criticism, and fear. Henry Ford didn't wait for things to work out. He decided they would. He poured his belief into the unknown long before the world was ready to accept it. When everyone thought the automobile was a fantasy, Ford built factories to make it a reality. Thomas Edison didn't let his 100th, 1,000th, or 10,000th failed prototype stop him. He assumed that success was inevitable and didn't need to see it to believe it. His vision carried him, and he acted as if success was already his. Charles Schwab didn't operate from fear. He operated from a deep faith in his vision, a faith so strong that it shaped entire steel empires. His belief was contagious. It made other men follow him. And Andrew Carnegie, the man who transformed industry and wealth in America, didn't ask, "What if this doesn't work?" He moved as though the results were already secured. That energy, the energy of certainty, is what builds legacies.
So why not you? Why not now? Why not today?
You've spent enough time worrying, hesitating, and telling yourself stories rooted in fear. It's time to flip the script, because the version of you that hesitates, overthinks, and shrinks, when life gets loud, cannot coexist with the version of you that walks in certainty. You can't serve two minds. One must die. Today, I present you with a new perspective, a new frame, a new lens through which to see your life. Start acting as if everything always works out, not because it's guaranteed, but because it makes you unstoppable. When you assume that success is inevitable, you move with courage, speak with authority, and command your life instead of negotiating with it. This video is your reset, your new operating system. It's not something to watch once or twice. It's something to repeat daily until your subconscious accepts this certainty as a new law of your life, until doubt shrivels in the presence of your calm. Because fear cannot survive where faith is present. The moment you begin to live in alignment with the assumption that the outcome is secured, you destroy fear. Listen with intent as you absorb these truths. Speak them aloud. Let them become fuel for your nervous system. What we are doing here is not motivation. It is reprogramming. By the end of this session, you will think differently, act differently, and most importantly, be different. Let's start with a question that has the power to rewrite your entire life. What if it all works out? Not just the small things, not just the easy victories, but everything. The setbacks, the delays, the pain, the silence, the detours, and those moments where it all felt like it was falling apart. What if, in fact, all of it, the struggles, the obstacles, is perfectly designed to build the exact version of you needed to achieve your dreams? Most people don't live in that possibility. They live in worry. They wake up bracing themselves for failure. They talk about the worst-case scenarios, expecting betrayal or disappointment, always anticipating the bottom to fall out. And because of this expectation, they unknowingly channel their energy toward what they fear, instead of what they desire. But there is another way to live, a way that doesn't require hype, doesn't demand perfection, but simply asks one thing to believe before you see. Here's the truth. Belief is not a reaction. Belief is a choice, and that choice directs the energy of your mind. Your subconscious doesn't argue with you. It accepts what you feed it and starts to build around that assumption. If you tell yourself, "Things never work out for me," your subconscious hears, understood, and begins filtering the world through that lens. That's what you start noticing, what you expect, what you attract. It's not magic. It's because you stopped looking for anything else. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up every day, no matter what's going on, with this quiet command running in the background. Everything is working out for me. Even if you're broke, even if you've been betrayed, even if the path isn't clear, you still move forward as though the doors are already opening. You still take action, like the foundation is solid. That belief alone, practiced daily, will rewire your entire life. When you assume things are working in your favor, you become calmer under pressure, more patient in the waiting, and you move with power even when the evidence isn't there yet. This isn't delusion. This is leadership of self. Thomas Edison didn't stop after failing 10,000 times. He didn't ask, "What if this never happens?" He asked, "What else can I try?" He knew it was coming. That mindset is what separates the person who folds after 3 setbacks from the person who becomes a legend. Henry Ford faced skepticism when his idea of a car for the common man was laughed at by his investors. But Ford didn't try to prove himself with words. He didn't shrink into fear. He moved forward like the world was wrong and his vision was already done. And that's not arrogance. That's assumption with discipline. It's the decision to act as if it's working, even when you can't see it yet. The weak wait for proof. The powerful move as if the proof already exists. This mindset shifts everything. It removes the need for validation, replaces panic with posture, and installs a new belief system. The outcome is certain. I just haven't arrived yet. So let me ask you again, what if it all works out? What if the delay was divine? What if the betrayal was protection? What if the confusion was just construction in progress? What if the so-called setback was the exact detour you needed to become the person you are meant to be? Once you adopt this assumption, once it becomes your default, you no longer fear the unknown. You welcome it, because the unknown is not your enemy. It's evidence that something greater is being built, and your job is to keep moving to build even when it's boring to lead, even when no one's clapping, and to act as if the outcome is already locked in, even when the scoreboard says you're losing. But remember, the scoreboard doesn't measure your spirit, your faith, or what's building behind the scenes. Only you know how deep this decision goes. So say it to yourself right now: I live as if everything is working for me. I don't panic. I prepare. I don't beg for signs. I build in silence, and I will not fold because I've already decided the ending. This is not a mindset exercise. This is mental warfare. It's the choice to walk through the chaos with order in your mind, because once you decide how your story ends, you no longer need to flinch in the middle. Let me tell you something crucial. There is a quality that separates the drifters from the builders, the lost from the locked in, the man who watches life unfold from the man who shapes it with his own hands. That quality is definiteness of purpose, a clear, unwavering, unshakable aim, a target burned so deeply into your subconscious that even in silence, even in failure, even in doubt, it remains impossible to ignore. This isn't just a vague dream or a wish list you type into your phone at midnight and forget about by morning. This is purpose written with fire, carried with discipline, protected with your life. Without purpose, your energy scatters. Your hours get stolen by distractions. Your focus hijacked by the next shiny object you see. You chase a dozen paths, but master none. You build halfway and then walk away. Movement isn't the same as momentum. Activity isn't the same as achievement. Noise isn't the same as direction. But when you become a man with definiteness of purpose, your path narrows, your vision sharpens. You stop waking up wondering what the day will bring and start commanding the day to deliver what you've already decided. That's power. That's the beginning of transformation. Look at every man who changed the course of history, and you'll find a purpose behind his steps. Henry Ford didn't aim to be wealthy. He decided to revolutionize transportation, and he pursued it with such sharp focus that the world had no choice but to adjust. Charles Schwab didn't dabble in ideas. He knew exactly what he was there to build. He knew what Andrew Carnegie needed, and his purpose was so magnetic that others followed not because he demanded it, but because his clarity made hesitation impossible. Abraham Lincoln didn't drift into greatness. He made a decision so clear, so final, that not even a divided nation could shake it loose. That's what you need now, a final decision, a line in the sand. A sentence that lives in your bones so clear that your mind orbits around it every single day. Let me ask you, do you know your purpose? Do you know without a doubt what you are here to do? Because if not, no strategy, no system, no motivational video will save you. Your progress will always be temporary, and your habits will collapse under pressure. Because the one thing that holds it all together is your why, your decision, your purpose. So write it down. One sentence, not 10. What is it you must build before your time? Here is done. Who must you become? What must you give? What result does your life demand? Not because it's easy, but because you've decided it matters more than anything else. That's your purpose. Once you have it, read it aloud every morning, write it by hand every night. Don't wait to feel inspired. Rehearse it until it replaces every other thought. This is the foundation of all confidence. Waking up and knowing where you're going. You don't compare. You don't scroll. You don't flinch because your steps have already been assigned. Everything you do, the food you eat, the books you read, the habits you install, the words you speak, the risks you take, it all bends toward one thing, your definite purpose. And that purpose gives you spiritual immunity against distractions. You no longer envy the paths of others because you're locked into your own. You no longer fear failure because you know it's part of the construction. You no longer need approval because your purpose gives you authority. And from that place, decisions become easy. Clarity becomes your compass, and time bends in your favor because the universe, your mind, and every atom of your being begins to conspire around one thing: the completion of your mission. Without that purpose, even the best habits will drift. Even the strongest man will fall. Even the most brilliant mind will chase things that don't matter. So write that sentence down and etch it into your soul. This is not for someday, not for when life calms down. This is the day you stop living like a leaf in the wind and start moving like a builder with orders from within. Say it now. I know my purpose, and I follow it without apology. I no longer wait for clarity. I generate it. My energy is sacred, and my direction is locked in. This is how empires begin, not with noise, but with one decision so deeply burned into a man's spirit that even time itself bends to his direction. And if you haven't made that decision yet, make it now. The clock is still ticking, but your focus hasn't been. You've got work to do, you've got power to build, and none of it will happen without purpose. Faith isn't something you wait for. It's not a gift that descends from the sky. It's not the result of hope or circumstance. Faith is something you build. It is constructed just like a building. Brick by brick, act by act, thought by thought, until you stand in the middle of something so strong, so stable, that even your doubts must bow before it. Let me tell you a truth that most men will never understand. Faith is not emotion, it is repetition. Faith is the byproduct of consistent, disciplined belief, spoken aloud, written down, acted upon, until your subconscious accepts it as fact. You don't find faith. You forge it. You train it. You rehearse it until it no longer requires evidence because it becomes the evidence. And here's the key. The mind doesn't believe what is true. It believes what is repeated. That's why so many men believe in failure. They've rehearsed it. They've spoken doubt daily. They've imagined disaster over and over again. They've aligned their actions with fear and then wondered why faith hasn't arrived. Let me be clear. You cannot rehearse weakness and expect strength to show up. You cannot marinate in hesitation and expect certainty to grow. Faith, like muscle, is earned through resistance. It is built by applying pressure to your comfort zone. And every time you follow through, especially when it's hard, you earn more of it. That's why autosuggestion is not a game. It's the gateway. It's the act of deliberately feeding the mind the identity you've chosen. Not the one you were given. Not the one they labeled you with, but the one you design. That's why I don't tell you to casually watch a video and hope it changes you. I tell you to repeat it, to study it, to speak it back. Because when you do, when you make those words louder than the doubt, something extraordinary happens. You start to believe in yourselves. That is the root of all personal power. To know that when you speak, your subconscious listens. If you agree with what I've shared, comment 1. If you disagree, comment 2.